What's up, guys? Arash Rahbar here, IFBB Pro Classic Physique. Gonna answer some of your questions from the Q&A post I made earlier today. A lot of you guys asked a lot of questions. First of all, I gotta say, you guys are fucking great. Tons of questions, man. I couldn't even get through them, to be honest. I'll go through them and answer more questions in another video, but for now I picked a few that I think are the most popular. First and foremost, the funniest one I gotta answer first is weed and bodybuilding. Someone asked me what I think of weed and competitive bodybuilding. Well, first of all, I don't advocate the use of any drugs. That being said, it all depends on you. If you become a lazy fat ass when you smoke and eat a bunch of shit and don't want to be active or work out or do whatever, then no, it's a no-no. You can't do it. I know a lot of people, a lot of successful people. I know some lawyers and doctors that smoke on a daily basis and they get shit done. So it's all relative. I have heard that high uses of marijuana will raise estrogen. You'd want to look into that if you're smoking a lot of weed. I personally haven't seen or heard anyone doing that, and I personally know of bodybuilders that get in great shape that do smoke weed, so I hope that answers. Another question I want to address is a really popular one. A lot of you guys keep on asking about off-season, bulking, dirty bulks, clean bulks, how not to put on fat, and such. First of all, dirty bulk should not be in your vocabulary. Dirty bulk means eating a bunch of shit through every meal all day long. Pretty much the majority of your diet is crap. So no, you should not be doing a dirty bulk. You'll put on tons of fat. And if you don't put on tons of fat, if you're the 5 percentile genetic freaks that don't put on tons of fat, well, it's just not healthy. You keep on abusing your pancreas, your insulin, everything in your body. What do you think is going to happen in 20, 30, 40 years? You're not going to be healthy. So your diet in the off season should be similar to your contest prep as far as not the calorie restriction, but as far as the foods you're choosing, the quality meals you're making. Now, you have a little bit more freedom depending on how hard you train, if you're doing cardio, and if you're genetically a lean person. Some guys eat a ton and just stay lean. So those guys have more leeway. They can eat more food, and then they can eat more refeeds and cheats and be flexible. You can eat out on a daily basis and still be smart with your diet. So for all you guys trying to get bigger, taking up more space and putting on weight in the scale does not mean you progressed. If anything, your body changes hormonally when you bulk. So what am I talking about? When we diet, we're super efficient at utilizing calories. Our body's really efficient at burning fat, and it's really efficient at utilizing glycogen in the muscle. Your growth hormone levels, leptin, T3 are all high. That hormonal balance, that mode phase that your body is in, changes when you go into the off season. It doesn't stay the same. For a few weeks after the diet, you're in that mode and you can take advantage of the excess calories and put on a lot of muscle, the rebound. You could also get really fat on the rebound too, but once you start putting on more weight, your body stops becoming so efficient at burning fat and actually becomes really efficient at storing fat. So if you guys ever notice, any of you that have gained a lot of weight or bulked in the off season, it gets to a point where you actually don't feel great anymore. You're not that strong. Your energy levels are really shitty in the morning and you just feel like crap. If you put on a lot of fat, first of all, nobody wants to put on a lot of fat. There's nothing good that comes of that. It's not healthy, and your estrogen will raise if your fat percentage is higher. Think about that. And if you don't know what estrogen is, Google that shit. You don't want it. It's a hormone. It's the predominant female hormone. You'll get bitch tits and you'll be round and soft. We have estrogen just like women have testosterone, but our estrogen levels are low, testosterone levels are high, and women is the opposite. So you don't want a dirty bulk. How do you bulk, make gains, and keep the body fat in the stomach, the belly in check? Well, there's many ways. Carb cycling is great. Carb cycling is low day, low day, low day, high day, back to low day. 5 days low, 2 days high, 3 days low, 1 day high. There's many different variations. You have to figure out which works best for you through trial and error. And the more consistent and strict you guys are with this shit, the faster you're gonna learn. Because if you're not consistent with your diet and you wake up one day and you look great, you don't know how you got there. If you wake up one day looking like shit, you don't know how you got there. But if you've been eating this very similar meals, that's another thing people always ask me, oh, why are you eating the same meals all the time? Why are you guys bodybuilders so boring in your diet? My diet's not boring, but the reason I do that is so I can learn. If you're all over the place, you can diet and train for 10 years, you won't learn shit about your body. So don't dirty bulk, carb cycle, high, low, high, low. Cardio, look, cardio is good for the health, good for your health and good for your heart. It's good to do some cardio in the off season, but it doesn't make much sense if you're eating a lot to grow and then you're burning a lot doing cardio, not really building muscle. I would do some bouts of HIIT, explosive cardio. It actually induces muscle growth, especially obviously in the legs, and it'll keep you in check, but you don't want to be doing tons of cardio. I wouldn't be doing fasted cardio unless you just came off of your diet. Unless you just finished a show, then you got to continue. If you do a show on Saturday, or if you're done with your diet this week, on Sunday you go right back on your diet. You don't just go from doing tons of cardio, training like an animal, restricted calories, low carbs, super clean food, to eating a bunch of shit, eating out, eating regular food, not doing cardio and training so-so. You're going to turn into a whale. People say, how do you avoid getting bloated? You just keep on dieting and then you slowly taper off your diet. How? You add 50 grams of carbs a week or more if you can handle it. You taper off the cardio. Next day after the Olympia, I woke up and I did fasted cardio and I circuit trained that later that day. For the next 4 weeks, I trained every single day pretty much. I took maybe like 2-3 days off. And I did fasted cardio every day for 2 weeks after the Olympia. Why? Because I was eating a lot more. I was enjoying myself. I was going out. I knew I was going to be eating desserts and people were bringing me stuff all the time. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to eat this shit, I got to keep doing the cardio. It's one or the other. You can't stop cardio and eat the junk because you literally will blow up. And the worst thing is when you're ripped and you have abs and veins to become a powder puff. It's the worst feeling in the world. All right, moving on. Upper chest. A lot of you guys asked about this too, and I'm addressing this because that was one of my biggest problems. I always felt like I had almost like when I was younger, I felt like I had little boobs. I wasn't a fat kid. I was chubby when I was young, but even when I started training, my chest was low. I always had a low hanging chest, and the vast majority of people have an underdeveloped upper chest, and the lower chest is always more developed. Why is that? It's maybe the way humans are built. I mean, shit, maybe it's gravity. But the issue is, especially for you guys that have big, strong shoulders, the issue is the shoulder comes into play when you're pressing. Okay, so the word isolation, right? We have isolation curls, isolation that, isolation this. I'm gonna tell you guys a little secret. There's no such thing as isolation. What am I talking about? We try our best to isolate. We put our arm on the preacher bar, the preacher bench, and we try to isolate our bicep. But isolate means shut everything off and only train that one muscle. The human body doesn't work that way. If I bend over to pick up this pen, 50 muscles are gonna fire. The back of my legs, my finger, my forearm, my elbow. So you can't really isolate just one muscle. Your body uses a lot of other muscles. And when you walk into the gym, your body doesn't know. Your body, your brain, central nervous system, blood, it doesn't know you're training chest today. It doesn't say, oh, it's chest day. Let's send all the fucking carbs and all the energy to this chest because he wants to get bigger. You get under the bench press and you put on weight, your body's just like, get this shit off of me, and everything fires. That's another reason why you guys gotta warm up, send blood and signal to the muscle. Don't just get under the bench, throw on 225 if your max weight is 275. You need to start at 40-50%. Warm up, send the signal to the muscle. So check this out. Can you guys see here? Let's say I'm doing incline dumbbells or bench press or whatever, and I do this, okay? This is what most people do. Is my tricep any definition? So I'm here, right? If I roll my shoulders back, I always tell people, roll your shoulders back when you want to do the press. Stick the chest out so you take your front delt out of the equation. Now watch what happens when I roll my shoulders back. If you guys can see that my arms, see where my fists are? Here it is. If I roll my shoulders back, look at the difference. That's over 2 inches. So the first time I did that, I was like, holy shit, it was a huge difference. Literally my upper chest got pumped after 2-3 sets. Also, you're gonna be a little bit weaker, so just practice with a lighter weight. You need to retract your shoulders. A lot of exercises, even when you do biceps. If I curl a weight like this, versus like this, which one do you think is going to be harder? If an exercise is easy, make that shit harder. There's always ways you can make exercises harder. If it's harder, fuck, you're going to do more work, you're going to recruit more muscle fibers, and you're going to get bigger and stronger. So for the upper chest, you really, really need to pull those shoulders back. I don't care how much you can bench press. I don't care how many pounds the dumbbells are. If you're using your front delt, it doesn't matter. You're not stimulating your upper chest. So I did that, and I did incline dumbbells. I really, really liked incline dumbbells. I did that first for many, many years, and I really built my upper chest. I also do a very basic, my chest workouts are usually like 3 exercises, like 30 minutes. I do heavy incline dumbbells. I'll do some kind of flat, either flat dumbbells or hammer strength. I don't do too much barbell because of the danger it puts the shoulder in. And I'll do, I really like dumbbell flies, heavy old school dumbbell flies. And I also will do sometimes crucifix flies. I'll sit on a slightly inclined bench, almost like the same incline or a little bit more that you would on a shoulder press. And I will take the dumbbells, and instead of my palms facing each other like the flies, they face the mirror. And I come real slow all the way down, get a nice stretch, and I come back up together. And I'm right about here. This is my angle. And what it does is it ties in the upper chest front delt. It'll hit your front delt a little bit, but it really hits the front chest, the upper chest when you bring it up like this. I think there might be a video on YouTube of me doing those. They're called crucifix flies. They're amazing. If you do them right, it's incredible for the upper chest. Like you know, if you do these 2 things and you do them right, there's no bullshit. I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. You will see results literally within weeks, within 1 month, you'll see a difference. I saw a difference in my upper chest, but it's also relative to how advanced you are muscular wise and how good you're eating. You know, you can bench 300-400 pounds, but you're not going to grow if you're not eating. All right. So a few of you asked about weak points, balance, and overall shape of the body. This is a great question. I have a feeling that a lot of the guys that are asking about body parts that are small or weak, they're not so advanced. They're not such advanced bodybuilders. And I don't mean a competitive bodybuilder. I mean they might only be in their first few months or first year or 2 of bodybuilding. You know, bodybuilding takes time, man. You don't have to know how to play basketball. If me and you go on a basketball court with a basketball, we could shoot hoops and have fun. Bodybuilding is not like that. It's very dangerous. You could hurt yourself, and it takes years, decades for some to really get substantial results where people will say, oh shit, look at him. I've been doing this for over 20 years. So, you know, I definitely got results after the first year, the first 5 years, but I wasn't like a freak, you know? So bringing up weak points, I really believe in not using machines. People be like, oh, how do I fix the imbalance? I think someone asked about the imbalance in their chest. Don't use machines. Because if you have a bar, a straight bar or a handle or a machine, and this side is weaker than this side, and you're pressing, this side's gonna do more of the work, right? But the fucking machine is a straight bar connected to the rack. It's still gonna move forward. It might move a little bit, but it's still gonna move forward. But if you're under holding dumbbells, well shit, this arm will stay right here and this arm will go forward. So it's gonna help you with the balance, the overall balance and symmetry. Use free weights, use a lot of dumbbells. If you're really, really off, if there's something like where I can see with the naked eye, it could be an injury, it could be an impingement, it could be nerve damage. You gotta get to the bottom, to the root of the problem. You might have something going on in your forearm and your bicep, but it's really originated back here in the back of your shoulder. So that's the way the human body works. When something is fucked up or weak, other areas, it's teamwork. Come and pick up the slack. You know, that when you see somebody limping down the street, they have an issue with their ankle or their knee, and the rest of the body's picking up the slack. If it didn't, that person wouldn't be able to walk. They wouldn't be limping. Now, to finish the answer to this question, I'm going to finish off with this. You cannot change the shape of a muscle. Let that sink in. It's not possible to change the shape of a muscle. It is possible to make a muscle bigger. It is possible to make a muscle smaller. It is possible to change the shape of your body overall by making certain muscles bigger, certain areas smaller, and changing body composition. If you can change the shape of a muscle, technically, all of us would go and follow Arnold's chest routine or all of Arnold's routine, and after 5-10 years, we would look exactly like Arnold. But our muscular tie-ins, bellies, and shape of individual muscles are genetically predetermined. That's nothing bad. It doesn't mean you're fucked. Anybody with any kind of genetics can get more muscular and leaner and look better than they do today or yesterday. That's a fact. So don't let your genetics, use that as, I don't have good genetics. People always use that as an excuse. That's fucking bullshit. But the shape of the muscle I'm talking about, think about it. We always have a pro like Rolly Winkler is known for his biceps. Phil Heath also, his brachioradialis and his arms. Dorian, his back. Ronnie, his everything. But, everybody has these crazy different body parts, some better than others. It's the shape, the genetic shape of their muscle. You can't change that shape. You can, again, change the shape of your body as a whole. If my shoulders get bigger by 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch on each side, what happens to my waist? If my waist stays the same, it doesn't get any smaller, it's going to appear to be smaller. Same thing, if your forearms are tiny and your shoulders are tiny, you make your arms look bigger. If your delts are enormous, but you have bigger arms than me, they're probably not going to look that big. My arms will look bigger because I'm more in proportion. You have freaky big fucking boulder shoulders, so it'll dwarf your arms. Moving on. Natural guys getting big. How much should a natural guy eat? How much should a natural guy train? Okay, well, first of all, you can't look at it like there's natural and there's anabolics, like they do different things. Bodybuilding is bodybuilding. If you're on anabolics, you're gonna grow at a faster rate. If you're on anabolics, you could eat a lot more. Depends on the person, depends on the anabolics. And you're gonna recover faster. But the premise of getting big, the premise of getting leaner, of bodybuilding is no different one to the other. I bodybuilded naturally for 21 years. I turned pro natural in the IFBB in men's physique. I lifted heavy weights and I ate right. I ate as much as I was capable of eating. People ask me about my macros and I say I don't track them. They're like, does Arash really not track his macros? It's not, I don't track day to day. I start off on a diet with X amount of carbs, X amount of protein, and then I go by eye. What I ended up eating, if you ask me my meals before the Olympia, I can tell you, but do I remember how many calories, carbs I remember always, but calories, fat, and protein, no, I don't remember. I just see all right, I need to fucking be leaner, so I cut back. Oh, I'm getting shredded and I'm starving and I'm eating a little, I can eat more, so on and so forth. So how do natural guys get big? Train heavy and eat right. One thing I can say, I've seen some guys get freaky big and full on anabolics, lifting not super heavy. Like everyone lifts pretty much heavy in bodybuilding and nobody lifts light. But I've seen guys with moderate weight just do high volume and just fucking balloon up, and look freaky. I think that's partially genetics, but with anabolics, I've seen that happen and it's more possible. I don't believe that's possible when you're natural. Me personally, I tried everything under the sun naturally. I pushed myself to my natural limit. I really did. I got as big and lean as I could, and it wasn't easy. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It was tough and it took a long time. But what really took me over the edge, natural guys, listen up. What really changed me from just GQ, looking good to oh shit, this guy's big, was blunt force trauma, lifting heavy. And I wish it wasn't true because lifting heavy is hazardous, man. It's dangerous, but that shit got me stronger and bigger. And then fast forward 10 years later, I'm a stronger person and I apply that strength to hypertrophy, to higher volume. But when I say blunt force trauma, I'm talking about I used to warm up, and then warm up some more and just go heavy. I didn't do drop sets, I didn't do supersets, I didn't do pyramiding. They're all great in their own time and place, don't get me wrong. But this is what I did for 6-7 years in my early 20s consistently. I just lifted heavy. I just went heavy and stayed heavy for 4 to 6 reps. So You know, if you guys do any research on Google, if you do any studying, university, medical research, you're gonna understand muscle fibers, red cells, white cells, fast twitch, slow twitch, explosive movements, what they do and how they affect the muscle, the look of the muscle and the strength. There's nobody out there putting on slabs of dense muscle lifting light. Nobody. It's not possible. I mean, there's myostatin deficiencies that people claim they have. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. That cow you see on Google or that was all over social media for a while that was like jacked beyond its mind. It was missing a gene called myostatin. Myostatin inhibits us from growth. People, I guess the government or pharmacies are working on blocking that. If you're able to take a pill or an injection and block your myostatin, the sky's the limit. You can just grow. And I believe some people don't have that gene and they're just freakishly big. But for the rest of us, you need to lift heavy. And the eating and the dieting, it's not any different. It's really the same. I mean, I've seen natural guys eat more carbs than guys on anabolics. I've seen natural guys get in much better condition than guys on anabolics. I don't think being on anabolics is a shortcut or makes things easier. It throws off a lot of guys' body, their hormones. It makes you hold more weight. It makes it harder to lose weight. It makes you hold water. So that, you know, it's the same premise with the diet and the training. So for you natural guys, like, you know, you can look and learn off of other people's training and dieting, but when you see Ronnie Coleman, like me, I grew up in the 90s and I followed the bodybuilders in the 90s and I ate and trained like them, and it was great. It got me to where I am now, but the mistake that I made back then was eating like them. I wasn't as big as them, I didn't have as much muscle as them, and I wasn't on any anabolics, so I wasn't staying as lean as them. So there was times where I put on a lot of body fat, and I don't recommend that. If you guys remember what I said about the off season earlier in this video. All right, I'm gonna end it with one of my most controversial but favorite topics. If it fits your macros. I'm gonna make another video dedicated just to this with a buddy of mine named Corey that's a very knowledgeable guy, really smart. I'd love for him to be in the video with me. Look, man, if it fits your macros, all of you guys know what that is. If you don't, it's basically saying that if you're supposed to eat 200 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and 50 grams of fat, just for an example, it doesn't matter when you eat those foods or what they come from. Okay. Am I the only one that realizes that that's the definition of Weight Watchers? So somebody grabbed Weight Watchers and put like a sport-oriented name to it, like bodybuilding, if it fits your macros, macronutrients. It's Weight Watchers. Of course it matters what you eat and when you eat it. I mean, anybody that says it doesn't matter doesn't know anything about insulin or hormonal responses of foods. Again, you can make gains, you can make progress. If you go from nothing, no dieting, no training, to something, a half-assed diet, half-assed training, you're gonna progress. You can lose weight on Weight Watchers, and if it fits your macros, you can get in pretty good shape. But insane changes in body composition. We're not talking about just getting a little bit lean and having a six-pack. We're talking about being the best you can be, the best I can be, right? We're talking about bodybuilding, correct? If you're not competing, it doesn't make a difference. You're still a bodybuilder if you're training for changes in body composition. So they're throwing carb timing and the way your body responds to certain foods completely out the window. So you're telling me your body responds the same way to quinoa, brown rice, sweet potato, and yams, all carbs that come from the earth. It responds, those are carbohydrates, it responds the same way to these as it does to processed sugars, processed white bread, fucking Pop-Tarts, and I don't know, corn. No, it doesn't respond to those foods the same way. It causes different hormonal responses, like I said, different levels of insulin sensitivity, insulin spikes, and you're more likely going to be storing fat with the processed stuff that spikes your insulins rapidly. I'm so worked up with if it fits your macros, I had to take a break, change my shirt, take a breather. So what I was saying about if it fits your macros is that it does matter when you eat certain foods. And even if, let's say for the sake of the argument, you're eating the same carbs, the same foods. Let's say you're eating, white rice and yams, you know, healthy foods for the sake of the argument, not junk food. It does make a difference if you have it at breakfast, if you have it before train, if you have it after train, or if you have it before sleep. First thing in the morning, breakfast is breaking a fast. That's why it's called breakfast. I know, it's amazing. And this first time, the meal you have, breakfast, and the meal you have after you train is the time when you're most sensitive to insulin. Anabolic activity makes you very insulin sensitive, and fasting, not eating for several hours, makes you insulin sensitive. So you have a very big insulin spike when you eat carbs at those times, and it's going to affect you differently. It could be a positive effect if you're training and you're bodybuilding and all that stuff. It could be a very negative effect if you're not, if you're inactive and you're overweight. An overweight person shouldn't be having a huge carb meal, especially processed carb meal, first thing in the morning or even late at night. You know, they should have slow digesting carbs that'll fuel them throughout the day. And if they're very inactive, they don't need to be eating these foods. But without drifting off topic, so if it fits your macros, you can lose weight. You can lose weight on eating pizza if all you ate is one slice of fucking pizza. But to have optimal hormonal responses, optimal advantage, taking optimal advantage of insulin and getting in the right foods at the right times is very, very important. Pre-workout meal is a meal that's going to fuel your workout. Post-workout meal is a meal that's going to start immediate recovery and give the muscles what you took away from them and what they need to recover and grow. So that's my take on if it fits your macros. And I'm very open to a lot of different techniques, and I'm never against or think anything is terrible. Everything has its own place and time and can be utilized in a good way. But I mean, I'm not saying to be on a strict diet in the off season. You eat good, wholesome, clean foods. You eat more of them because you're in the off season. And you know, you eat out here and there, and you have cheats and refeeds. You enjoy yourself. You know, you have a muffin or a Pop-Tart before you train, or you have a burger and fries after you train once in a while, if you can get away with it, not all the time, you know. And another thing is, you know, health and bodybuilding don't necessarily go hand in hand. They can, but they don't have to. The way you look is not relative to health. A lot of people will look like they're healthy and be in shape, and they're not healthy at all. They don't know it, and you don't know it. You can't see the insides. So just think about it. If you guys are gonna be eating fried foods, oily foods, greasy foods, chicken parm, pizza, even if you can stay lean and have a six-pack, do you think that's a smart thing to do? So I hope you guys like this video of today, the Q&A. I love the idea of doing this because I get to give you guys what you want and not just what I want to give you, you know? Like shoveling a bunch of shit to you guys like a lot of people. So we'll do it again soon. I'll go through when I have some time, the comments, because I know you guys commented a lot and there's a lot of topics a lot of guys mentioned. One thing I got to say is a lot of the stuff that I read, guys are asking questions they don't understand, that I can't really answer the question because it depends from person to person. People are like, well, I'm eating 400 grams of carbs and I weigh this much and this is my height. Is that enough to grow? Shit, I really don't know. I don't know what your body composition, I don't know what your body fat is, you know? I don't know how hard you train. Even some of my clients, at the end of the day, I don't know how hard they train. I don't know how intense their cardio is. What I do know is the progress they've made from the last update. You know, so I have a long list of questions I ask them. They give me a whole update with pictures and details of the past week, their current diet, their last week's weight, this week's weight. And with all this info, I gather with their pictures, that's a huge part of it, I gather what their body is doing and what it's telling me. Your body talks to you. It tells you what you need. Anytime you have a craving or you feel a certain, you know, energy, you're very energetic or you don't have energy, this is your body talking to you. It doesn't speak English. You just have to speak its language. And that's what I do for my clients. I look at them and I say, okay, you know, I'll ask them questions like, how's your hunger? How's your strength? That tells me a lot about what's going on in their body. So you guys keep these things in mind. You know, the questions you guys ask sometimes are not so easy for me to answer. And it's not that I don't want to answer, but it's very difficult not knowing all the variables, and then that the answer doesn't really apply to everybody. It's, you know, for you, 400 grams of carbs might be optimal. For someone else, shit, they'll store fat. You know what I mean? So till next time, don't eat shit.